The DJ was counting down to the beat drop when I saw her hand move toward mine. Not fast, slow, deliberate, like she was testing if she still had access. Like my fingers were some keys she used to own but hadn't touched in a while. Everyone around us was either laughing, fake drunk, or pretending not to hear things they weren't supposed to hear. And there she was, looking at me like the past week never happened. She smiled like it was still Tuesday, like I hadn't seen the photo, like she didn't know I'd been staring at it for 3 days straight. It was tucked inside a Slack thread about upcoming ad placements. I wasn't even supposed to be in the channel. It was labeled internal only, creative, probably meant for designers, probably left open by accident, probably the most honest thing I'd seen in months. In the background of a mock-up for a spring campaign, mid-zoom, pixelated, she was kissing him. In a booth I recognized. At a bar we said we'd never go back to. That's what wrecked me the most. Not just the kiss. The location. She promised we'd never return there after she caught me crying in the parking lot on our 3rd date. She said it made her sick to see me hurt like that. Now, apparently, it made for great lighting. So yeah, her hand was hovering over mine like we were still something. I watched it. Didn't flinch. Didn't reach. Didn't forgive. Instead, I leaned forward, past the lights, past the laughing interns and tipsy executives, and whatever playlist her new boyfriend probably curated for the evening. And I whispered, "Not after what you did." She pulled back like I'd slapped her. The song dropped. The crowd cheered. The lights flashed. But she just stood there, still frozen, still pretending, with that hand tucked behind her back like it never reached in the first place. And I walked. Not to the bar. Not to the exit. But somewhere worse. Somewhere quieter. Where I could finally open the envelope I'd hidden in my jacket. The one I hadn't dared look at until now. The one from the hotel. With the room number. And his name printed above hers. I should have ripped it open in the parking lot. Or in the bathroom stall at work. Or anywhere but there. In the middle of that glitter-drenched ballroom, where everyone was too busy pretending their lives were perfect to notice mine dissolving under a red velvet chandelier. But maybe I wanted her to see me read it. I stepped out onto the terrace behind the venue, the music pulsing like a heartbeat behind glass. The night air was sharp, that kind of October chill that sneaks past your collar and plants itself under your ribs. I pulled out the envelope. Plain white, bent at the corners. It had been sitting in my glove box since Monday. I wasn't sure why I hadn't opened it before. Fear, maybe. Or hope. But mostly, I think I already knew what it would say. The hotel logo was at the top, embossed in silver like it was proud of what it was hiding. Below that, 2 names, typed in bold. Guest, Islam Marie Beckett. Accompanying guest, Alden Claiborne. Room, 519. 1 king bed. 2 nights. Booked 3 weeks ago. The same weekend she told me she was at her sister's silent retreat in Vermont. I stared at the paper, so long the ink started to blur. My mouth tasted like metal. My legs forgot how to stand. I gripped the railing and tried to breathe, but all I could hear was her voice from last week, chirping about how exhausting meditation was and how she had nothing to show for it except clarity. Clarity. She said that word like it was some enlightenment. But she didn't gain clarity. She gained Alden, and I gained a stomach ulcer. The terrace door creaked open behind me. I didn't turn. I knew it was her. She always moved like a cat when she didn't want to be caught. Soft heels, fake calm. "Colton," she said gently, like she wasn't sure if I'd bite or break. "Can we please talk?" I turned around slowly, holding the paper between 2 fingers like it was radioactive. "You left this in your car," I said, and her face lost all its color. "Guess you didn't expect me to look under the seat when I was trying to find the AUX cord you conveniently misplaced." She stepped closer, her voice trembling now. "It's not what it looks like. That line. That worn-out, screenwriter-scripted line." I almost laughed. "You're right," I said, stepping toward her. "It's worse." She reached for my hand again. Same move from earlier. Same tilt of the head. Like we could just rewind the whole night if she touched me right. I flinched. Not out of fear, out of disgust. "You kissed him in the booth at Grady's," I said flatly. "You brought him to our spot. The one we said we'd never go back to. Remember what you said when I cried in that parking lot? You said it made you sick to see me hurt." Her lips parted. No sound came out. "Then you booked a room with him," I continued, "and made me feel guilty for asking where you were." She looked like she might crumble. But I wasn't done. I held the envelope up between us and dropped it at her feet. You've got clarity now? I said. Then be clear with him. Then I walked past her, right through the ballroom, past our coworkers, past Alden, who was sipping his drink and pretending he didn't see me, past the fake laughter and the real betrayals and the hollow version of myself I'd been playing for months. I kept walking, until I was outside, until the cold slapped me clean. But the moment I reached my car, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You don't know the full story. Meet me tonight, please. It wasn't from her. It was from his wife. I didn't respond right away. I just sat in the driver's seat, phone trembling in my palm, heart pounding like I'd run a marathon I never trained for. The message stared at me from the screen, calm, polite, surgical. You don't know the full story. Meet me tonight, please. No name, just a location. Harper's, the 24-hour diner by the freeway. The one with the flickering neon E in the sign and booth that smelled like burned toast and broken promises. The same place Isla and I used to hit after movies in the early years, back when her eyes actually stayed locked on mine instead of checking every vibration on her phone. I stared out the windshield, watching couples stagger out of the venue behind me, glitter on their shoulders and lies in their pockets. It hit me that I didn't know a single real thing anymore. Not about Isla, not about Alden, and definitely not about whoever had just texted me. I should have gone home, but I couldn't. Something in my gut, the same instinct that ignored a year's worth of red flags, finally decided to scream. And it told me to go. So I did. Harper's was nearly empty when I walked in. 2 truckers at the counter, a waitress refilling ketchup bottles, and a woman in a tan coat sitting in the back booth, stirring a mug of untouched coffee. She looked up as I approached. Dark eyes. Tired, sharp, watching me like I was both a rescue mission and a waste of time. You're Colton, she said. Not a question. I nodded and slid into the booth across from her. Laurel, she said, offering her hand like this was a job interview and not a meeting between 2 people whose lives had been sliced open by the same blade. Alden's, I started. Wife, she finished. Still legally, yes. Emotionally, that's up for debate. We sat in silence for a moment. I didn't know what I expected. Maybe some kind of sob fest or revenge fantasy monologue. But Laurel didn't cry. She didn't shake. She just stared at me like someone who had already done the crying and was now operating on fumes and cold fury. She finally spoke. I've known about them for a while. The emails, the voice memos. I even found a necklace in his glove compartment. Same one I bought her during the Christmas party last year. The one she lost at the airport. My stomach twisted. Isla had come home crying that night, claiming TSA made her throw it out. Laurel, I said, my voice hoarse. Why me? Why now? She leaned forward, her voice low, careful. Because I think it's more than an affair. And I think you're in danger of becoming the public villain if they get ahead of this. I blinked. What are you talking about? She reached into her coat and slid something across the table. A small voice recorder. Cheap. Scratched. But when she clicked play, I heard my name. Isla's voice. Laughing. Nervous. Too rehearsed. If Colton finds out, he'll probably spiral. He's always been kind of unstable. I mean, you saw how he got about the cat thing. I just hope it doesn't go full meltdown. You know how he gets. Laurel clicked it off. I've got more, she said. Enough to make it look like you're the aggressor. The jealous husband. The one who couldn't handle his wife's success. My mouth went dry. Why would she? Because she's protecting him. Laurel's eyes flashed. Alden's on track for partner. HR won't touch him if he's just helping a poor, confused woman escape an unhappy marriage. But if you blow up first? If you're painted as the paranoid husband who imagined things. My head spun. So they're setting me up? They're building a runway for a clean exit, she said. You'll be the cautionary tale. She'll be the survivor. He'll be the hero. I stared down at the voice recorder like it was a grenade. Laurel finished her coffee in one long, bitter sip. I'm not here to be your friend, Colton, she said as she stood. I'm here because I'm tired of watching liars win. She dropped a key on the table. Room 519. I made a copy. If you want proof, real proof, you'll go tonight. Before they wipe it clean. Then she was gone, and I was left alone in a diner booth, staring at a key I never asked for, to a room that already destroyed me once. I sat in the car outside the hotel for what felt like an hour. Maybe it was an hour, maybe longer. The engine was off. The key Laurel gave me was in my lap, cold and jagged. I kept flipping it over, running my thumb along the teeth like it could cut through the numb fog I'd been living in. I must have checked the lobby camera feed through the hotel's public site for different times. No sign of Isla. No sign of Alden. Just the night clerk staring at a screen, chewing something too slowly. I don't know what I thought I'd find up there. Evidence? Confession letters? A bra with his initials stitched in like some disgusting trophy? But I knew I had to go. Not for closure. Not even for revenge. I just needed truth. Something that didn't come wrapped in spin or smirks or half-lies disguised as sympathy. Room 519 was on the top floor. I took the stairs because the elevator music felt too polite for what I was about to do. Every step echoed like it was reminding me I had no clue what I was walking into. I hesitated at the door, pressed my ear to it. Nothing. No voices. No movement. I slid the key in and turned. Click. The door creaked open. And the first thing I noticed? It didn't smell like perfume. It smelled like bleach. Faint, recent. Like someone had just tried to scrub something away and ran out of time. The curtains were half drawn, the lamp on the nightstand still on. The bed was made, too made. The kind of perfection you only see when someone's trying too hard to make something look untouched. I stepped in, closed the door behind me, and froze. On the coffee table sat a single glass. Half full, lipstick on the rim. Not Isla's color. It was darker, burgundy, almost black under the lamp. Isla wore gloss. Always had. Hated deep tones, said they made her look aggressive. I scanned the room. A man's coat hung on the back of the desk chair, designer, beige, still with the tag tucked inside the inner lining. There was a receipt beside it. From the lobby bar. 2 drinks. Time-stamped from the previous night. But the kicker? The voicemail on the hotel phone. I didn't even know those things still worked, but the red light was blinking like it had been waiting for me. I picked up the receiver, pressed the play button, and listened. A woman's voice. Calm. Direct. Clipped. Mr. Claiborne, this is the front desk. You asked to be notified if anyone checked in under the name Laurel, just confirming no one by that name has entered the premises today. Let us know if you'd like to extend your stay. Click. I nearly dropped the phone. Laurel was tracking him. She didn't trust him either. Whatever partnership they'd had, even in betrayal, it had splintered. She wasn't just exposing the affair. She was circling it like a shark waiting for blood. But that wasn't the most shocking part. There was a folder on the desk. Manila. Slightly crumpled. Labeled with a post-it, Q1 projections. Inside. Photos. Not of Isla and Alden. Not the kind of sleazy snapshots I expected. They were of me. Zoomed shots of me leaving work. Sitting in traffic. Walking out of the grocery store with a frozen pizza and a 6-pack I never finished. One photo had a timestamp, 10:48 p.m. Same night Isla said she was asleep by 9 during her silent retreat. Who took them? Why? I flipped to the back of the stack. There was a printout. My LinkedIn profile. Notes scribbled in the margins. Low risk of retaliation. Poor social presence equals limited PR fallout. Keep psychological angle open, maybe meds? My stomach turned. They weren't just having an affair. They were building a profile. On me. Constructing a narrative. One that could paint me as unstable, unsociable, easily dismissed. The kind of guy no one would believe if he said his wife turned on him. The kind of guy who'd be easy to erase. I staggered back toward the door, vision swimming, when something buzzed. My phone. Another text. From Laurel. Whatever you found, you need to leave. Right now? You're not the only one watching that room. And that's when I heard it. The elevator ding. Footsteps in the hall. Coming closer. I didn't grab the folder. I should have, I know that now, but when the elevator dinged, my body made the decision for me. I slipped the receipt into my pocket, took one last glance at the room like it might burn itself into my memory, and ducked out the side door by the ice machine. I didn't even check the hallway, just moved. Fast. Low. Like every inch of me finally believed what my brain had been trying to deny for weeks. I wasn't just being cheated on. I was being set up. The stairwell was colder than the rest of the building. Damp air. Smelled like old paint and dust. My fingers gripped the railing as I descended, skipping steps in bursts, knees aching, breath shallow. Every creak echoed louder than it should have. My phone buzzed again in my coat pocket, but I didn't check it. Not until I burst out into the parking lot behind the hotel and leaned against a concrete pillar, finally allowing myself to exhale. No one followed. Yet. I pulled out the phone. Another message from Laurel. I told you to be fast. If they saw you, you'll know soon. What did that even mean? And how did she know who was watching that room? I drove straight to the lake. Not home. Not to Laurel. I just needed stillness, somewhere I could unravel without being watched. I parked at that old overlook where we used to eat takeout sushi in the car. I stared out at the dark water and finally let myself ask the question that had been tapping at the back of my skull all night. What if this wasn't about the affair at all? What if Alden and Isla had started as some stupid emotional entanglement, but somewhere along the way, it had mutated into something more dangerous? Because none of this, the hotel voice message, the notes scribbled on my profile, the photos tracking my every movement, screamed lovers sneaking around. It felt organized, deliberate, like someone had planned the fall before the crime. I checked the receipt from the hotel bar again. I'd almost missed it the first time. The initials scribbled at the bottom in pen. L.G., Laurel's initials. So what? Was she involved? Feeding me just enough truth to earn my trust while nudging me toward the wrong conclusions? Or was she being watched too? I called her. No answer. Straight to voicemail. I didn't leave one. I stared out at the lake and tried to piece it together. Isla was good at spinning stories. I remembered how she once talked a landlord into waiving a pet deposit for a cat that didn't exist. I remembered how she accidentally got upgraded to business class twice. But this wasn't clever. It was cold. A plan. I went home around 2:30 a.m. The house was dark, silent. I parked 3 blocks away just in case. Walked the rest of the way on foot like a criminal sneaking into his own life. But the moment I stepped inside, something was off. The air felt too still. Not like someone had left, more like someone was waiting. I crept through the living room. Everything looked untouched. Keys in the bowl, blanket folded, a wine glass in the sink. And then I saw it, sitting on the hallway table, where Isla normally tossed junk mail. An envelope, not sealed, no stamp, just folded once, neatly. My name in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside, a single hotel keycard. No note, just the key. And I knew, instantly, it wasn't for room 519. Because written in red marker on the back of the card was a different number. Room 302. And a time. Tomorrow, 8:45 a.m. Come alone. I didn't sleep. Not even for a minute. I just lay on the couch staring at the ceiling, waiting for the light to bleed through the blinds, counting the seconds until 8:45. Every sound outside, the trash truck, a dog barking, tires hissing through wet pavement, felt like part of some slow countdown I couldn't stop. The keycard sat on the coffee table like it was watching me back. Every time I looked away, I swore it shifted a little closer. By morning, my mind was already gone. I brewed coffee, poured it into a travel mug, didn't drink it. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly spilled it twice. I kept replaying the last few days over and over. Laurel's warning, the photos, the folder, the envelope at home. None of it fit together cleanly. It felt like someone had written a story around me, and I just walked into the middle of a scene that was already halfway finished. When I got to the hotel, everything looked the same as last night. The clerk was still there, though now he had dark circles under his eyes, the kind that suggested he'd been up all night too. I nodded to him like I belonged there, and to my surprise, he nodded back, almost knowingly. That look people give when they think they understand something, but absolutely don't. I took the elevator this time. The numbers lit up slowly, 2, then 3, and with each ding, my chest got tighter. When the doors opened, the hallway was quiet. No footsteps, no vacuum hum, just the faint hum of the air conditioner and the soft creak of carpet under my shoes. Room 302 was near the corner, half hidden behind a vending machine. The moment I slid the card, the lock light turned green without hesitation, like the door had been expecting me. The air inside was heavy, not musty, warm, like someone had been there minutes ago. The curtains were drawn just enough to let in one thin stripe of morning sun that cut across the bedspread. There was a coat draped over the chair, Isla's. The same navy one she wore to the last family dinner, the one I bought her when she complained about always being cold. And beside it, on the desk, her phone. Screen cracked, battery at 2%, unlocked. My heart stuttered. There was no one in sight. I took a cautious step inside, and the floor creaked. The bathroom door was closed. For a second, I thought I heard water dripping, but it stopped as soon as I noticed it. I whispered her name, Once, quietly, then again, louder. No response. Just silence pressing in from every direction. I picked up her phone. No passcode. She'd been calling someone. Same number, over and over again, from last night until early morning. Unknown caller ID. I scrolled through the recent texts. Most were deleted. But one thread remained. One message that hadn't been erased yet. It was from Laurel. He knows. If you want to fix this, you'll have to make it look clean. The timestamp was 2:11 a.m. About half an hour before I found the keycard on my hallway table. I stared at that message until the letters blurred. My hands felt like ice. I walked toward the bathroom door, knocked gently, and the sound echoed hollowly through the tiles. I pushed the door open with the edge of my sleeve. Empty. Just steam. The mirror fogged up. Shower still dripping. A towel lay on the floor, damp. I stepped back, scanning the counter. Toothbrush. Hair tie. A hotel notepad with 2 words scrawled in black marker. Don't believe her. That was it. No signature, no explanation. Just that sentence sitting under a half-empty tube of lipstick. I turned toward the door and froze. Someone had slipped something under it. I hadn't heard it. A folded piece of paper, still crisp, still smelling faintly of printer ink. I crouched, unfolded it with trembling hands. A photo. Me. Standing outside this hotel. Taken from the second-floor window. Dated 5 minutes ago. The paper slipped from my hands. There was a faint reflection in the TV screen across from me. A shadow near the window, barely visible behind the curtain. Not moving. Just there. And when I looked up, finally turning toward it, the curtain swayed like someone had just stepped out of sight. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. One new message. Unknown number. Leave now if you still want the truth. Otherwise, you'll only find what's left of it. I didn't run. I should have. Every nerve in my body screamed for it. But something kept my feet rooted to the floor. Maybe it was the shadow that had vanished too quickly behind the curtain. Maybe it was the message still glowing on my screen. Or maybe it was that part of me, the sad, broken, still in love part, that thought Isla might actually be in danger. That maybe she'd gotten in over her head and now didn't know how to climb out. I took one step toward the window, peeled back the curtain just enough to peek outside. Nothing. No one. Just cars. A few people checking out. A woman with a rolling suitcase lighting a cigarette. No eyes on me. No lenses pointed in my direction. Unless they weren't outside anymore. I backed away, grabbed Isla's coat and her phone, then left the room without bothering to close the door. My mind was racing with 1,000 possibilities. Who sent the message? Who took the photo? Why had Laurel told Isla to make it look clean? And more importantly, why hadn't Isla just told me the truth herself? The elevator was too slow, so I hit the stairs again, taking them 2 at a time until I burst out into the side alley where the maintenance trucks parked. My car was around the block. I jogged toward it, constantly checking behind me, half expecting someone to follow, or worse, confront me. But no one did. It wasn't until I slammed my car door and locked it that I noticed something sitting in the passenger seat. Another envelope. This one was smaller, almost like a greeting card. My name again, printed, not handwritten. Inside was a flash drive. No label. No note. My throat tightened. I didn't own a laptop without a tracking system from my office. I couldn't plug this in anywhere safe. So I drove. Not home. Not to Laurel's. Not anywhere familiar. I went to the only place I knew had an open public computer lab, the community college where I once took night classes before Isla convinced me to aim higher. Funny how she always said that with one hand on my back and the other reaching for something else. The lab was half full. Students buried in code, YouTube tutorials, music production software. No one looked up when I sat down at the corner machine. I slid the flash drive in. Waited. It held just one file. A video. Low quality. Security footage. Hotel hallway. Room 519. Timestamp 2 nights ago. Isla walked into the frame first. Hair up. Coat off her shoulder. She looked nervous. Checked behind her. Alone. Then, 30 seconds later, Alden appeared. But it wasn't romantic. He didn't smile. Didn't hug her. He grabbed her arm. Hard. She yanked back. Said something. Tried to open the door, but he stepped in front of it. I turned the volume up. There was no sound. Just grainy footage of a woman being boxed in by a man I thought she chose over me. Her hands were shaking. She looked around like she expected someone to intervene. No one came. Then he handed her a phone. She looked at it, shook her head, started to cry. He raised his voice, gestured wildly, pinned her against the doorframe. Not long. 10 seconds. 15 at most. But I saw it. His fingers against her neck. Not choking, but threatening. Then he leaned close, whispered something into her ear. She didn't move. Frozen. Like a statue. Then he stepped away. Calm. Clean. Straightened his shirt and walked off. And Isla just stood there. Didn't run. Didn't follow. Just stared at the floor until the screen went dark. I sat there in the lab, frozen just like she had been, as the video looped again. And again. And again. She hadn't betrayed me for him. He had used her. Manipulated her. Or worse. Laurel's message hit me all at once. He knows. If you want to fix this, you'll have to make it look clean. It wasn't a warning about me. It was about Alden. About what he might do if Isla didn't play her part. I ejected the flash drive, slipped it into my pocket, and stood up. My legs felt numb, but I kept moving, back to my car, past two guys arguing in the parking lot, past a security guard tapping on his phone. The entire world felt like it had tilted 15 degrees to the left. Same faces, same places, but suddenly nothing made sense the way it used to. I'd blamed her. I'd cursed her name. I whispered, not after what you did, like I had any idea what I was talking about. But the truth? I didn't know what she'd done, because someone else wrote the script, and she was just acting her part to survive it. By the time I got back to the house, the sky had cracked open. Rain wasn't just falling. It was coming down in sheets, smearing the streetlights into golden blurs. I didn't turn the windshield wipers on. I don't know why. I think I needed to see the world the way I was feeling, streaked, messy, almost impossible to process. The flash drive burned in my pocket. I could still see her face in that footage. The way she didn't move, didn't cry right away. The way she clutched her wrist when he let go. Isla wasn't guilty. She was cornered, used, controlled. And if Laurel was right, and let's be honest, she probably was, the entire setup had been for Alden's benefit. Not just the affair. The narrative. The staged fall of a jealous, unstable husband who would look bad on paper and worse in court. Something Alden could spin into a promotion Isla could escape quietly from, and no one would question the perfect corporate predator with clean hands. Only something shifted. Laurel gave me just enough to look. Maybe guilt. Maybe she didn't want blood on her hands. Or maybe, in some twisted way, she believed I was the only one who wouldn't walk away when things got ugly. When I opened the door to our house, Isla was sitting on the floor of the hallway, still wearing the same coat from room 302. Her hair was wet. Her phone was dark. She looked up when she heard the keys, and for the first time in months, she didn't look defensive. She looked tired. I stood in the doorway for a long time. The silence between us was thicker than anything we'd said in the last 6 months. I didn't know how to fix it, she whispered. Start with the truth, I said. And she did. All of it. How it started as flirtation. How Alden made her feel seen after months of us drifting apart. How she confided things to him. About me, about herself, and he used them to wrap himself around her life slowly, like a vine. He never asked for anything explicitly, not at first. It was all hints. Guilt. Power games. Then came the photos. The threats. Her calls to Laurel, who she thought was helping, but who was actually feeding both sides, stoking the fire. I told her about the flash drive. About room 519. The notes about me. The hotel envelope. The camera. The message slipped under the door. Everything. She didn't even cry. She just listened. I thought if I could keep you in the dark long enough, she finally said, he'd leave me alone. I didn't know he'd go this far. I didn't know he'd try to turn you into the story. The next morning, we went together. To Laurel. I wasn't sure what to expect, but she opened the door with a face that said she already knew. She didn't try to run. Didn't slam the door. Just stood there and said, so now you've both figured it out. Laurel wasn't the mastermind. She was the cleanup crew. Alden had used her too, for years. Manipulated her loyalty, dangled financial threats. And when the marriage broke, she stayed close to him, not out of love, but out of fear. She thought that by playing along, she could eventually take control of the fallout. But instead, she ended up caught in the same spiral as Isla, scared, cornered, and complicit. But she did something else. She handed me a USB with the original security footage, untouched, and the internal company emails Alden thought he deleted. All of it, tied in a digital bow. Enough to nuke his career from orbit. I didn't even need to use it. Because when Isla sat down with HR 2 days later and told them everything, and I mean everything, they believed her. The videos, the bruises, the timestamps, the receipts, Laurel's documents, my testimony. It was too much to bury. Alden resigned within 24 hours. Some vague, personal crisis, excuse, but word travels fast when the right people have the receipts. His promotion? Gone. His name? Mud. His future? Deservedly radioactive. But the best part? No revenge speech. No viral meltdown. No dramatic collapse in a courtroom. Just quiet justice. And us? We didn't magically fix everything overnight. That's not how this works. But Isla gave up her job. Started therapy. We started going too, together. I moved back into the bedroom 2 weeks later. Not because I forgot, but because I finally understood. She didn't betray me because she stopped loving me. She let him in because she forgot how much she mattered without being wanted. We're working on that part now. Every day, she still flinches when her phone buzzes too loudly. I still wake up sometimes thinking there's another envelope by the door. But it's getting quieter. She laughs again. I don't check her texts anymore. We've started planning a trip, nothing big. Just a lake cabin, a stack of books, and no phone reception. Last week, we were at a friend's wedding. Music playing, glasses clinking, people dancing badly. I was sipping soda by the wall, watching her from a distance. She walked toward me, reached for my hand, same way she did at that cursed company party. This time, I let her touch me. She smiled and whispered, "After everything we survived, now you say yes." I squeezed her hand. "Yeah," I said. "Now I say yes." And I meant it.